Welcome to Liquid Courage, the podcast where I, Amanda Pereira, sit down with a fellow artist that I admire and ask them the questions I've never had the guts to ask them before. Sounds scary? Yeah, it really is. So I use a little liquid courage in the form of my guest's favorite drink. We cheers, chat, and connect as I attempt to soak up all the wisdom they have to offer. Today I sit down with Evelyn Salvarinas and we enjoy some Christmas tea. Evelyn is an aura photographer and the founder of Rose Aura here in Toronto. Originally from Toronto, Evelyn studied in New York City, where she earned a master's in fine art history at Sotheby's Institute. During her time at the Big Apple, Evelyn discovered the power of aura photography at the shop Magic Jewelry and enjoyed getting her aura photographed and read as frequently as she could. But when she returned home to Toronto, Evelyn was surprised to find that no one offered film aura photography or even had the right camera. And so, craving the healing and reflective power of readings, Evelyn set out to fill the aura photography void in Toronto. And in 2017, Rose Aura was born. Evelyn also holds a Crystal Master certification and uses a deep knowledge of the chakras to provide unique, informative, and comfortable mystic guidance. In this episode, we reference the aura photos that I've had taken with Evelyn, and I show them in the video version of this episode. So if you're listening and wondering what they look like, I've also posted them on the podcast's Instagram at Liquid Courage Podcast for you to see if you want to. This episode with Evelyn is the finale episode of season 4. So I just want to take a moment and say a huge thank you to everyone who's been listening and watching this season. This show has become such a source of joy and connection for me, and it means so much that there are other people out there who love it and enjoy it too. So this feels like the perfect episode to end the season with, a great way to celebrate season 4 and manifest future seasons. Oh, and if when I say aura photography, you're like, I have no idea what that is, don't worry. Very early on in the episode, Evelyn gives a rundown of the whole process. You'll be an expert in no time. So here is my conversation with Evelyn, an aura photographer, the founder of Rose Aura, and someone I admire immensely. Hi, Evelyn. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you. I actually don't know if I told you this. You are my finale episode for season 4. I have been planning it all along. I just think you are so wonderful. I think you are like a Toronto celebrity in our midst. I just adore you. I think you're so wonderful. And I'm so excited to have you here and like get to ask you all of the questions that I have been dying to ask you for so long.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Oh yeah. And we're drinking Christmas tea, which just makes me feel so lovely. Some people might get mad. I know it's November and it's not December yet, but like, I don't care.
Close enough. Yeah,
it's close enough. And I've never had Christmas tea before. Is this something that you have regularly?
I have had it for years. I love Christmas tea. I love the combination of like spices and orange and just I just love it for this time of year. It doesn't have to be like Christmas. It could be all the way into February. Just like in this time of year, I love a good Christmas tea.
Yeah.
So I'm just like so happy that you had it. You just happened to have it.
I know, it was so random. I actually had some at home and I didn't even know what Christmas tea was. So mine says black tea, intensely aromatic, infused with flavors of spice and citrus. And I'm like, oh my God, that sounds, and it smells amazing. And I have to say, it's a very gray day. That's why I have on this like bright blue sweater with like white clouds on it. Cause I just need something. Cause it's very gray. And I was feeling very like, bleh. And I thought, I'm talking to the queen of color and energy today. This is my prescription.
That's a pretty intuitive color to choose because it's your throat chakra, right? It's your communication. So I also am wearing all blue today.
Stop! Oh, I almost teared up because that's so cool. Oh my God, it's my throat chakra. I didn't even, and you know, I literally have like pictures of it open. I've had one open on my computer monitor for a little bit of like all the chakras and all the colors. And I didn't even clue into that. You're right. Oh, we're both wearing blue today.
You used your intuition and you picked the one that would be the best for you.
I already feel better. I already feel better from this gray day. Okay, so to start off today, for some people, I hate making you do heavy lifting in this. I just think that I might butcher it a little bit. So like for people listening or watching who have never had their aura photo taken before, who've maybe even never heard of it, can you briefly explain how the camera works and like what a photo might look like? for people? So just so they can kind of get like
Absolutely.
context while we're chatting about this.
Totally. So an aura photo is a picture of you and a picture of your energy in any given moment. The camera, it's a specialized camera. It's called an Aura Cam 6000. It's also called a Coggins Cam. It was designed by Guy Coggins. And you put your hands on sensors. The sensors connect to the camera. And based on the energy that you're giving off, like the energy, like the ions that are kind of coming off of your hands, that is going to send the information to the camera and show up in what chakras are active and open. So in the photo, you can expect to see like yourself in the middle and then colors all around you. And they can be different colors, different places, and where the colors are, what the colors are, the intensity of the color, how bright, how dim will mean something different in the photo as well.
So cool. Actually, and I've come to you a few times to get, and actually I have an appointment next week or the week after.
I
So I'm coming to
noticed.
see
Yeah.
you again. Oh,
I
did you?
saw that.
Okay. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. I'm trying to come every season. That's my
Yeah.
kind of like
Love that.
journey within it, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I brought two of my photos here so people watching can kind of
Okay.
see how different, or and also if you're listening, I will post this on Instagram. I already have posted it on Instagram, but I'll post it again on the podcast page just so people can see. That's amazing. And like one thing that I remember you saying to me, I think in my first appointment with you, is like how because the photo is reflecting which chakras or which like energy centers are open and which aren't, it can change from minute to minute. Like it can be
Hmm.
different in 5 minutes from it is right now. And so
Hmm.
because of that, I'm wondering like what's the most helpful way, I guess, that you suggest people interpret and utilize the information in their aura photos, since it's not something that is necessarily like a staple and it's not going to change for the next, year or whatever. Does that make sense what I'm
Right.
asking?
Yeah.
What I'm
Well,
curious
it's
about?
really
Okay.
like it's changing second to second, like minute to minute,
Mm,
yes, but like think about how quickly your thoughts are changing, your feelings are changing, even about the past and the future. Like they're changing all the time. So
mm-hmm.
we are like our energy is constantly changing. So back up for a sec to explain this. I'm going to explain
Yeah.
chakras. So the word
Yeah.
chakra translates to wheel or disc. Each chakra is essentially a spinning wheel of energy. So at any given point, some spin greater, some spin smaller, but they're always like flowing, right? So as your feelings change, as your physical energy changes, as everything kind of changes around you, your chakras are constantly like vibrating. Some are spinning larger, some are spinning smaller. So you're essentially kind of like in the moment that you put the
Mm,
hands on the sensors, like in that one kind of second, right? That's what you're seeing in the photo. Now, you can use that photo in a number of different ways. So some people just want the photo for the photo, just to like have the photo and like see what it looks like. Great. Some people want to use the photo to work on things. So
mm,
what I really recommend and what I like look at in the photo is what's strong. We first start out with like what we can see, and then from there we look at what isn't visible, and that's what we want to take some extra time working on or give a little bit of
mm,
extra attention to, give a little bit of extra love to. So that's really my strategy with it. Ideally, what you want to see is everything. You want everything to
mm,
be flowing from the base of the spine to the top of the head. You want to be like fully rainbow. That can happen in two ways. That can happen when you're feeling the best. That can happen when you're also feeling, quote unquote, the worst because you're still feeling the most. You're feeling everything, right? So you ideally want to be fully aligned, everything flowing at the same size and speed. Everything is really kind of like embodied and empowered. But that's also the rarest thing I see as well.
mm. Oh, that's so interesting. Like that a rainbow can be aligned, or also like it doesn't necessarily that there's no perfect, or there's no like you have reached this destination and now you just stay there. It's flowing and
No,
fluid just like
yeah.
everything in humans is.
Exactly. And like a lot of people come, if like a lot of people come and they just assume that they're one thing. Like they assume the thing that
Mm,
they see is like who they are and what they are. And we're kind of used to these like boxes, right? Um, but I think it's really important for people to understand that like you're all of it. You're all of it at once. And like what is expressing itself in that moment is like just that moment, right? That's
yeah.
not to say that's who you are. You are so much more than that. Like we're literally all of it.
What color do you see the most often or the least often?
It honestly depends. It changes seasonally.
Mm.
So as especially in Toronto, because like the weather here is so extreme,
Yeah. Cue
like
my
it
bright
really,
blue
really,
jacket or my bright,
you know
bright
what I
blue
mean?
sweater.
Like
Yeah. The gray
it
outside.
really affects us. It affects our mood, it
Mm-hmm.
affects our energy. So like once it becomes winter, everybody's red. Everybody's like this, everybody's cold, everybody's like pushing their
Oh, and
bodies.
what's red is root?
Red is root.
Okay.
In the winter, it becomes a more of a dim red. So when it's bright
Mm,
wet red, it's a grounding energy. It's your power. It's your life force. When it goes dim, it could mean overworked, overtired. It could be stressed. It could be
mm,
anxious. And so that kind of keeps the energy a little bit closer in.
mm-hmm,
In the spring, the number one thing I see is green because
mm,
when the trees bloom, we also bloom. It's something so interesting to me. So, like, we're so connected to nature, we're so connected to our environments, and spring is a really like interesting time for people to get their photos taken. Summer is obviously great. You can get like just a mixed bag of
I feel like
everybody's
that's the
feelings
most
and
rainbow
emotions.
time in Toronto is
Yeah.
like the most like likelihood you have of getting a rainbow is like July.
Listen, you could have
I
a
don't know.
rainbow in the winter. Like some people are just glowing. Like some people I've seen like for years and they've had rainbows every time. Like
Who
extremely,
are those
extremely
people?
rare. Very,
Psychopaths. No,
very
but like
rare.
who has a rainbow in the winter? No, it's fine.
I
People like skiing. I don't
some
know.
people do. Some people
Yeah,
do. Some people
that's
live.
fair.
So everybody's different. We're, we're always flowing, but yeah, in the summer it's just a lot more variety, but like in the winter you can tell that it stresses people out.
Are there not are there things, but like, what are some things, since we are heading into winter, what are some things, I'm like now, like, oh my God, help. What are
You're like,
some
ah,
things that we can do to kind of help our body stay in a bit more open and more of that like equilibrium, homeostasis within our chakras going into like the sad gray winter that is Toronto?
my number one thing that like I've noticed has helped my energy is breath work. So I
Mm,
recommend it for everybody as much as you can to really kind of like connect to your body, to like oxygenate your blood, to move your lymph around. Like there's just so many benefits to breathing, and we really need
mm-hmm,
to be doing that more. Something else that I really like to recommend to people is shaking, just kind of like somatic movement where you are
mm,
shaking for a couple minutes a day, just like letting the energy off and letting it kind of flow through you. I also, for myself, I like to do red light therapy. I like to do acupuncture.
mm,
I like to do saunas just to kind of like what I enjoy doing for my body. And like it really helps my energy to balance it. But it's also everybody's different, right? So it's
mm,
really like intuitive to the person. Like whatever feels good will
mm-hmm,
generally be good for your energy. So
mm,
just like rule of thumb, like if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel like this is like a natural thing that you're doing, then you don't have to do it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think it's really easy to dismiss like breath work or see it as like, oh, Evelyn, I can't get over this amazing mug. This is the most glorious mug. Like, if anyone is
Isn't
just
it though?
listening, it's the most glorious mug I've ever seen. This
Thank you
beautiful.
so
What's the
much.
name of the frog? Can you remind me?
Karothi.
Oh, Croupy. Look at this darling. This is like the mascot of the podcast officially. Little Crow.
Thank you so
Beautiful.
much.
And every time I see you drinking it, I can tell like it is large and in
Yeah.
charge. And there's like a very like it's like trying to maneuver where to put your
No, it
cover
is
your
the
whole
first time I
face.
drank from it, so I'm trying to figure out like exactly
Yeah.
where
Yeah, yeah.
like I won't spill it all over myself, and I
Yeah,
think I
yeah,
figured
yeah.
it out like on the corner. So it's
Yeah, I'm really loving that I was like getting to be a part of the learning curve process of
yeah.
drinking from it
Well, I needed
also
a
and
special
seeing.
mug. Like I needed a special mug
Yeah,
for the
special
podcast.
mug
Sorry.
for Christmas tea. No, that's
What
fine.
were
I
you
just no,
asking?
I loved it. What was I asking? No, I loved it.
Sorry.
Oh, I feel like it's really. I know.
Too
I got
distracted.
so
Like I was
sidetracked because I was like, oh, I
sorry.
just felt like angels were singing from this beautiful frog mug. I promise I won't draw attention to it every time you drink. That'll be the last time, maybe second last time. I'll leave myself one more time. Um, no, I feel like it's really easy to dismiss breath work.
Mm,
Um, my partner is very much into breath work and meditation retreats, and is always just like saying how important and valuable it is for them specifically. And I feel like it's easy to dismiss because it's something that all of us are like, oh, well, we all breathe. Like, yeah,
yeah.
breathing. But the number of times I just in a moment like become aware of the fact that I'm holding my breath or that my whole body is tense or that like
Uh-huh.
am I actually breathing? And I'll notice
Mm-hmm.
it if I'm playing video games, if I'm
Oh
reading a
yeah.
book, if I'm like
Driving.
driving, it can be
Yeah.
things that are intuitively relaxing or intuitively stressful. And so
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to dismiss, but I think also less people are deeply and consistently breathing as they might think they are, you know?
100%. And like that's
Yeah.
also really common. Like the two photos that you showed had a lot of red in it, red in
Mm-hmm.
them. Like that is really common for people with a lot of red in their photos
Mm.
to be clenching, to be not breathing, to be keeping energy in. And
Yeah.
so, like, I used to be exclusively red for years. I was
Mm.
constantly like just this little stress ball, and I was always red.
Oh,
But I was
yeah.
so happy to be like doing what I was doing, and I was so happy to be kind of like learning about auras and like I was happy to be doing it. I loved what I
Mm-hmm.
did, but I was always so stressed. And it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
until I started doing breath work that my energy changed entirely. So I
Mm.
know from personal experience, like it is really important. It's super
Yeah.
duper important just in general. But just speaking about like people with rainbow auras, the people who are aligned, like the one thing in common is that they all meditate. That is
Mm.
something that is just like the proof is in the pudding, right? So
Yeah.
if everybody who's feeling aligned is doing this thing, it might be a key in order to
Yeah.
help more people feel aligned.
I'm not gonna let my partner listen to this episode. It's just another
Sorry.
just no, no, no. I mean, you're right. And it does
Yeah.
feel amazing when you do these things. Like it's like you said, proof is in the pudding. It's there.
Yeah.
And I think too, like I think it's important too that you bring up like feeling tense or like stressed, or I know you've spoken to about feeling like you had a lot of anxiety and trying to like do that breath work and keep yourself open. I mean, I think that can be really exhausting for a lot of people, especially if it's an anxiety that has to do with others, like social anxiety, or
Hmm.
if you are around people who are, maybe draining or things.
Hmm.
So I guess like there are going to be situations where we have to be around people that make us anxious or make us want
Hmm.
to close up, make us like tighten. We
Hmm.
can, choose the people in our lives, but also sometimes you have a coworker or a family member you have to be around who kind of suck that energy. And so when when like we find ourselves in those situations where we have to be around people who aren't great for our energy, what are some things that we can do in that moment to protect ourselves so like our energy doesn't get hijacked by this other person with us?
Okay, so there are a number of things that you can do. And so breathing,
Mhm.
just back to what we were talking about, like somebody could set you off, like things if
Mhm.
your energy is not super connected to your body. Sorry, my dog just decided to pop up in
Oh,
photo to this video.
hi.
This is
Oh
Rocky.
my, Rocky? How old is
Hi,
Rocky?
he's 7.
Lucky number 7,
Hi,
little
baby.
Rocky. Oh, Rocky is
Yeah,
welcome to the recording at
yes.
any
Here,
time.
here he
Truly.
is.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. Oh,
so many distractions. Okay, hold on.
so many cute
So,
animals, whether it's mug
yeah,
form or in real life. We're just
thank
like
you.
so many
I love
cute,
cute things.
cute
Love cute things.
beings. I love it. Love
Um,
it.
yeah, so breathing, like we can choose to kind of like practice kind of like embodying
Mhm.
slowness and stillness and breath work like when we find things that trigger us, like that's something that's important. um you can do things like creating energetic shields around you. These are things that you can envision around yourself, so energetic like shields of white light, of gold light, of just like
Mm.
protective energy around you. Other things that might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I definitely find that crystals are something that
Mm.
um, I
Yes.
really, I really connect with. So, in terms of crystals, like you can always keep a selenite with you. Selenite is super duper clearing. So if you feel like there's anybody's kind of energy that's getting on you, like holding a selenite or like just waving it around is going to definitely like help that energy kind of get off of you. You can
Mhm.
also do like grounding protective stones, like a black tourmaline, like an obsidian. Those are good
Oh
to
my
have
God, I
on
have a
you.
little
And
one right
then
here. I always have him right in front of I always have it. I'm forgetting my names now, but I always have this one for creativity. I think it's an
when
orange
it calcite.
cellulite calcite. Thank you so much. Wow, even
Hmm.
with my blurry video,
Be like,
I
I
am
can't really see it because it's blurry, but
amazed
I'm
that
like,
you're
is
able.
it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know my video is blurry for you, so the fact that you can even make out what this crystal is, yes.
Okay.
Orange calcite for
Yeah. So
you
you're
know
like
what? I could be
creativities
wrong.
and.
Yeah, well, yes, and I'm part of me is now realizing, when people like get tattoos and they're like, "Oh, this means like hope in Mandarin." And you're
Yeah,
like, "No, it doesn't. That means
right.
like Britney Spears is God," which is a fine tattoo
Yeah.
to have, but like that's what I'm worried about. I'm about to do with my crystals. Yeah, so for creativity, and then I always
Hmm.
have black tourmaline for this is mainly to be like soaking up all of the like energy from my electronics so that I'm not like taking them all in, a bit of
Yep.
like a protective one.
You can
And then I
also
don't
do,
yeah.
so black tourmaline you can use for your electronics, but you can also use shungite, which will,
Oh.
and what hematite. Those are two that will like really draw the like that EMF out. The
Oh, I'm
tourmaline is
going
more,
this weekend to go get it.
the tourmaline will work, but it's like it's
Yeah.
more for like grounding and protecting, but like it will work around. But you can also use like shungite or hematite as like a little bit of a stronger EMF protection.
Okay.
I
Oh,
have a
I'm doing
bunch
that.
around my router.
Yes, that's what it
Like,
yes,
yeah,
putting it all around my internet.
yeah,
Exactly, exactly.
yeah.
And then the last one I have here is like I don't even know what this is called and it's
Can't
weird.
see
It's
it.
yeah, I'm going to say I think it's too blurry to see it. It is a very ugly stone in my
Okay,
opinion, but I had the
okay,
most like intuitive experience picking it out in the store. I closed my eyes and was like picking through and the person who worked there was helping me and it's for staying in the moment. So anyway,
okay.
I just talk about hijacking a person's energy. I just hijacked that moment and been like, yeah, here let me
No,
show
those are
off
your
my
like those
crystals
are the
that I
things that
have.
you
But
have, right? Like those are
yeah.
the things like you connect with, right? So like
Mhm.
having those things on you, having them with you will definitely kind of like help.
Yeah.
And then another way to kind of like clear your energy is with smoke. So like Palo Santo,
Mm.
just kind of like any incense that you particularly like. You can also clear energetic waves with sound. So
Mm.
if let's say like yeah, like you've gotten kind of too much on you, you kind of like dust it off with sound. Don't neglect like shaking, like literally like shaking the energy off of you.
Mm.
But then something I also want to um, just point out that like people's energy, like our chakras are constantly like spinning and moving, right? So like let's say there are people that we don't necessarily get along with, like we just don't connect with.
Mhm.
Essentially, like your chakras and their chakras are spinning in misalignment. It's like gears that don't fit.
Mm.
So it's not necessarily like we love to kind of like label people as like you're toxic or you're this or you're that or
Yeah.
like this is bad for my energy kind of thing. But like ultimately, like your gears really aren't just like flowing together. And like
Mm.
that's fine too. Like they're on their own kind of energy over there. You're on your own energy over here. And also kind of like realizing and recognizing that too. But like crystals, like protective shield, smoke, sound, shaking.
Yeah. Oh, that's fabulous. That's so interesting. I mean, absolutely. It's like, oh, just because you think somebody is like, oh, they're not good energy. It's like, well, maybe you're not good energy for them and they're not good energy for you right now in
You
this
just
point in
don't fit.
time. And
Yeah,
you just don't.
totally.
Yeah, absolutely. It would, my first thought is like, oh man, it would suck if you're in a relationship with somebody where your gears are just not working
You
together.
likely
And
wouldn't be in a relationship anymore if your gears
yeah, yeah,
weren't
yeah.
fitting like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Your body's going to guide you in that way and be like,
Yeah,
no, 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 not right now.
yeah.
Yeah. You've shared I think it was in a podcast where you were sharing how like a lot of your clients will come in in their reading and their photo like they go straight to wanting to know the bad stuff like oh well or saying oh god I'm all this color that's bad or tell me
Yeah,
the bad stuff. That was
yeah.
really interesting to me. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people are drawn to that stuff first?
It's the number one thing I hear is I have no aura. Like people walk in and be like, I
Oh,
have no aura, or like my aura is black. And it's like, okay, you wouldn't be alive.
right,
Like this is
right.
literally your life force. So like there's something there. Let's take a look at it. But people automatically, I don't know, like assume, not everybody, but like a lot of people
Yeah.
really like assume the worst in themselves and like
Mm.
really are just kind of like they want to know the worst stuff. And it's like, okay, for sure, there are maybe some emotional elements, or there's some tired or stressed or anxious, or you don't know what you want, what you're talking about. You need to kind of work on your
Mm.
intuition. Like there are things obviously that like could be perceived as bad, right?
Mm.
But it's also how you want to perceive these things, right? There's like a
Mhm.
positive and negative to everything. So I tend to really focus on the positive to help people
Yeah.
reconnect with that because it does seem like that's something that people are maybe missing a little bit. Like
Mm.
they want to focus on negative and like this was even before the pandemic and before like the past couple years of like everything being so up in the air. Like
Yeah.
it's been consistent since I started. I've been doing this for about
Wow.
like 6, 7 years, and that's like the number one thing people will say is like, I have no
That makes me so sad. That people are like, I
aura.
have no aura. I don't know. It's just like,
You do, like, you
oh,
know
you
what I mean?
have
It's just,
to,
it's,
like you said.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're alive. You're alive.
Wow.
You're here. And let's take a look at it. And like, if you're in a bad mood or if you're not feeling your best right now, like, again, just know that like it's passing. It's a passing time, like moment in time or energy in time. Like, it's not anything
Yeah.
that's permanent. It's not like, it's not anything that's going to last forever. Like, again, we're everything.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it's such an interesting kind of also like a tool that helps reveal some like patterns that you have or things
Hmm.
that kind of like sit within you, like you've mentioned where when you lived in New York City you were going and getting your aura photo taken frequently, like after something significant or feeling something significant, like I think you mentioned like after having a fight with somebody or after quitting a job or like after, I think you
Hmm.
even mentioned like after doing your taxes, like things like
Oh,
that
yeah.
where like
Yeah. Yeah.
stressful. And
It was different
what
every
did
time.
you yeah, like what did you learn about yourself in taking those like frequent photos in those like significantly emotional times? Cuz that's really interesting information to be seeing, like, oh, every time I'm really sad or I'm really stressed or I'm really whatever it is there a pattern here? And yeah, what did it kind of like show you about yourself?
At that point in time, like this was maybe like over 10 years ago, like at that point in time, I wasn't even thinking about it. Like I wasn't
Mhm.
thinking about it in terms of those things. I was just like, this is cool. This looks cool. I just want to see what I can see. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't doing it to learn about myself. I wasn't doing it for any other reason, just to see it. But then after seeing it and after like continuing to kind of see those differences and see those changes, like I essentially learned that like I was different in different situations. Like my
Mm.
energy that I was giving off, like felt different. It looked different. Like it just gave me a deeper understanding of like my own energy. It gave me a little bit of a glimpse into what I was putting out there, like what I was giving off, like when I was feeling certain things. Um, and then from there, it kind of like all tied together where I couldn't find a job in Toronto. And I was like, okay, maybe this is something that I could potentially do. But in that, like, I also wanted to see my energy change. I wanted to see my
Mm.
energy shift. Like, as I mentioned, like in the photos in New York, like I had a lot of different, like, the taxes one was very like red, orange, and yellow. The fight one was super duper blue.
Mm.
um, when I quit my job, it was red and pink, but I did have a lot of red and a lot of dim red in a lot of my photos. And again, with that
Mm.
stress, that anxiety, I didn't really like know what it was at
Mhm.
the time,
Mhm.
really. Like I wasn't even aware enough to like recognize what that was. But then coming back to Toronto and like starting this business and really like having access to the camera and being able to kind of like see my energy and recognize, oh, okay, like here are things that I really need to work on. Like this is consistently coming up for me. Like this is something
Mm.
that this is what I really need to work on now. Like this is how I need to like kind of restructure and change change my energy so that I'm giving something else out that's not just this, and I'm not constantly like always exhausted and always
Mm.
I was like sick a lot. I was really running myself ragged. And like
Mhm.
after having seen that, like it let me take better care of myself. It let me recognize myself. So yeah, in New York, like when I was first doing it, I was just doing it to see it, but then seeing it change and then seeing it also stay the same with that red made me recognize,
Mm.
okay, like this is something that I really need to delve into a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. Were you all like were you always interested in crystals, aura, chakras, or like all of them when you were growing up? Is it something you were always fascinated in or
I
fascinated
was
with?
always interested in crystals. I
Yeah.
was constantly coming home with rocks in my bag. Like my backpack was full of rocks all the time. And I loved like going to the ROM and seeing the rocks and like the little
Mm.
like pyrite, like the fool's gold you could buy from the ROM. Like I had this like little like rock collection when I was a kid, like a little crystal collection. Like I loved crystals. So it's so funny
Mm.
it's really like full circle now that like
Yeah.
I'm so involved with crystals and like I'm selling them, but like they're all over my home. Like I love them so much. In terms of like energy and chakras, that's not something that I had a lot of experience with. It was stuff that like I knew about, but just loosely until
Mm-hmm.
I started getting these photos taken. So energetically, like my family, we've always, I don't know, there's always been this understanding of like energy in this
Mm.
specific way in my family. So we are Greek Orthodox, and there is like an evil eye thing. So like an evil
Oh
eye,
yeah.
it's
I
in a
have
lot
my
of different
little
cultures. Yeah, look at the
my
evil
parents
eye.
actually, it's funny you say that. My parents just went to Greece and brought me back that bracelet. I'm like, oh, this
Yeah.
feels very intuitive. Okay. Yeah.
I've always had evil eye jewelry like ever since I was like a baby, but
Mm.
there is like with the evil eye, or the way that we know it in my family specifically is like if somebody, and they don't really need to know that they're doing it to you, but if somebody kind of gives you like a bad energy, like kind of like wishes ill will, or even if they're like jealous and not like necessarily like a terrible way, but like some sort of like jealousy or ill will or some kind of something directed towards you, the recipient will start yawning. It's like a lot of yawning. You'll immediately feel very, very nauseous, like nauseated, and just kind of like just very, very sickly, but you'll be yawning a lot. And at that
Oh
point,
my
I'll
God, Evelyn,
either
I'm
call,
fighting yawning right now. I'm like, it's only because you're saying it. I don't feel any ill will. I just need to
yeah,
say it in case I yawn. Because now that you're saying it, I'm almost doing it and I
it'll
feel
just like
no
it'll
ill
happen
will.
a lot. It'll be like you'll
Okay.
feel super sick first, and then the
Okay. I don't
yawning
feel
comes
sick.
second. So like if yeah, if you
I
have to
feel
yawn, like
nothing
that's
but
totally
love.
fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If I yawn, I just want you to know that it has nothing to do with me
Totally
feeling ill
fine.
will. I don't feel sick. I feel wonderful. I
Yeah,
feel love from you. Okay, sorry.
that's
I just didn't
beautiful.
want you to see me yawning and then as we're talking about this, be like, do you think
Like
that I am wishing you ill will? Because I'm not.
I'm like
Okay.
I'm certainly not.
Yeah, no, and I don't feel that. Okay, great, great, great. Now
No.
if I yawn, it's
Um,
just a yawn. Okay, great.
it's a yawn. It's a yawn. No,
Just a
some
yawn.
yawns are just yawns. Like that is
Yeah, yeah,
totally
yeah.
okay too.
Yeah.
But like at which point, like if it's going on for like enough time, like I'm not feeling well, I'll either call my mom or my grandma to do this evil eye thing to get rid of it. So essentially, over water, you drop oil and you say a couple different like, prayers. The way that the oil congeals will let the person on the other end know if like the recipient has an old evil eye, a new evil eye, how strong it is. So like my grandma and my mom both know like how to deal with it and get rid of it. But essentially, like after they do this, you could be far away. Like you don't have to be close to each other. You literally like come back to life. Like
Wow.
it is energy work if I've ever heard of it. You know what I mean? And like if it's
Yeah.
real bad, they'll call someone in Greece to do it. Like it's there's like lots of
Wow.
people
They'll
like really good at
outsource. We
doing
gotta
it. They'll
outsource
outsource.
this
Yeah.
energy cleansing. Yeah.
I've had some outsourced degrees before. So like I've always understood like
Mm-hmm.
energy in that sense. Like I've always understood energy, like other people's energy affecting you, you affecting other people's energy. Like I've always
Mm-hmm.
understood this concept, just like in a different way. And then having learned about it through the photography just brings it all together for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Oh, and that like it's so um I guess I could imagine that for some people they might be skeptical or you might actually receive like negative feedback if you're like, I want to go into this line of work. And it's really lovely for me to imagine that you were allowed to like naturally find your way here and there was encouragement behind that. Like I think sometimes
Yeah,
we can find our natural path or like our intuitive path, but maybe it's discouraged by people around us. So yeah, it just warms my heart to hear that like it was something that was encouraged for you. And that just
for
felt
sure.
natural, I guess, also to like go into.
It all kind of came together, and it's like it's not necessarily something that like my family understood or was familiar with, but they were
Mm,
definitely supportive of me saying, okay, you know what? I think that this is something like I think this is a cool thing to do. Like nobody's doing it.
mm-hmm.
I just think that it could be a, a good idea, you know?
Yeah.
And it was nice to like have that support, and I'm definitely able to do this because I have such a good support system as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so surprising to me when I was researching you and like learning about your story and hearing that when you came back from New York you were like you didn't necessarily have the idea, oh, I want to start this business first. It was like, oh, I want to continue getting my aura photo taken. And there was like nowhere to
Yeah.
go in a city
Oh,
like
out of
Toronto.
necessity
That's so
entirely.
surprising. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That
No,
was so
yeah,
surprising to me that there was nobody doing it. Like, that's
same.
wild. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. So
Yeah.
I was in New York. So I lived in New York for several years. I was there doing a master's in art history, and that was kind of like my path and my route. I was an art history person. I was in auctions. I worked in museums. Like I was very in the arts. And so I lived in New York for a couple of years. I worked in New York for a couple of years, and then I moved back to Toronto. And I could not find a job. I could not find anything in the arts. I could not find anything with having all of this experience. Like I thought I'd come back with like all this experience and like land a great job, but like
Yeah, yeah.
the art jobs didn't really like exist in the capacity that I was hoping. So like
Wow.
I couldn't even find a volunteer position. Like I was applying for
What?
volunteer positions. I was getting turned down. I was like, I have all this experience. Like
You have
I'm
a
ready to work.
master's,
Like
you have like
I have a
work
master's in art
experience.
history. Yeah, like I interned at the
Wow.
Guggenheim. Like I was working, like I was doing it. And I was just like, okay, no one's hiring me. Like it's just, and it was like that
Not even
rejection
hiring.
of like
Nobody's like having you volunteer. That is so wild to
volunteer.
me.
I was trying so I was trying so hard. Just to like, okay, I'll be a volunteer and then I'll work my way in and then
Yeah.
I'll get in that way. Like nothing. Couldn't find anything. So at that point, couldn't find anything. I just had to get creative with it. But
Hmm.
I also couldn't find somebody to do this photo. Like there were a couple like really, really old websites. Like somebody in Scarborough had one of these cameras. I feel like maybe in the 90s, somebody in Mississauga had one of these cameras, but like nobody had it in a way that like I could contact them and get my photo taken.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like these relics of like these websites from the past. So like I could not find anything. And from there I was like, okay, then it's me, you know? And
Wow.
that's it. That's it all came together basically from there. I mean, it's been a lot of work. Like it's been, I can't even remember how long it's been. Honestly, like we've lost so many years with the pandemic. Like I
I
can't even give it the
know.
time. It's been definitely 6 years, maybe point 0.5 to 7 years. I can't remember,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
but it's been a lot of like growth. So like I started out of my garage. I lived
Hmm.
on Euclid for a couple years, like when I moved back. So it was like in the laneway in my garage is when I started, and people would come and like book appointments on Instagram and just like come to my garage. And then I started renting out like different studios, like a studio on College, a studio on Queen Street, and now I have my space on Montrose, which I share with my friend Sandro. He makes
It's such
those
a
gorgeous
beautiful
soaps and room
space.
sprays. It's all credit to him. Like he's really
Oh,
like the plants, like it's all like his vision, and I'm so lucky to be able to like just go in there and like be with that energy and be in that space
yeah.
as well. Like it's a really harmonious like energy in there. So I
Hmm.
definitely appreciate it because like again, I've worked in my garage, I worked in my brother-in-law's tattoo studio, like I've
Yeah.
worked in different places where it's just been like I've made it work,
Yeah.
but it's taken a lot of time to kind of like grow it to the point where it's like feels like a business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I would imagine too, like as much as other people can affect our energies, absolutely, like the space around us can affect our energies. So wanting to have a
100%.
space where people walk in and it's not like, oh, everybody is this specific color and I know it's because I'm in my garage and there's this thing or whatever, like or that or even your energy if you're like I wish I wasn't in my garage, their energy is going to pick up on that and I'm sure it's hard. I guess how do you yeah, like when a client comes in, how do you ensure that your energy isn't a part of their photo? Not that your chakras can like creep their way into their photo. I don't mean that, but like that your energy doesn't affect their energy and
It
therefore
definitely
change
can.
their
Like
photo.
I've noticed over the years that like people can have a reaction to me and that reaction to
Mm,
me can affect their energy. So I try to be as like neutral and positive as I possibly
mm-hmm,
can, but I really I make people shake. I make people breathe. I make people kind of like
mm,
focus in on themselves.
mm-hmm,
Um I try to give everybody the same amount of like love and attention, and if people are
mm-hmm.
feeling, let's say, a little bit more stressed or a little bit more anxious, like we'll give them a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I do my best to really make sure that like I'm not in it. Like I think over the past several years, like I've gotten pretty good at being able to like protect my energy because
Mm-hmm.
I was noticing that like they would affect me a lot.
Yeah.
Like me affecting them is one thing, but like they like my clients would definitely affect my energy and like really, really deplete me. So as
Mm.
I've kind of like learned and grown, like I've also gotten better at kind of like shielding and protecting myself. And with that barrier, I think comes an okay kind of distance in terms of our energies. But that's not to say like some people could definitely be affected by me or react to me, and like that could definitely affect their energy as well. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I try to be as like kind, as understanding, as neutral as I possibly can be so that everybody feels comfortable and welcomed and
Mm-hmm.
like enjoys their experience.
Mm. Well, that's always been my experience with you, that you've just been so like a calming presence and neutral and kind and like very like also just patient. Like your cadence is just very, I feel like it invites, I'll just speak for myself, but like it invites me as a client to also like match that cadence and just sync within myself. Like it's a really nice, yeah. So it's working in my opinion what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And
But
even
yeah.
if like, yeah, even if I am stressed or like something's happening in my personal life,
Yeah.
I find that I am able to like leave it outside and
Yeah.
really like show up in a like calm, like present way for work. So
Mhm.
I try my best.
Yeah. I mean, but that is like that does sound, or it sounds like it could be kind of like draining, or it sounds like it takes a lot of energy to not only make sure that you're not taking on other people's emotions or lives, you know, because they'll tell you stories afterwards during the reading, but like
Hmm.
also that you're always kind of keeping it takes a lot of reflection on yourself and like really actively making sure that your energy is in alignment, or that you're like, okay, yeah, I just had a fight with my best friend and like my neighbor is sick. I don't know, all the things
Yeah.
that you're thinking of,
Yeah,
and like
like,
having to keep that in check. That's a lot
yeah.
on your plate. Like that's a lot to navigate through.
Yeah. I'm also a human person. So like
Yeah.
I also have emotions and feelings and I'm dealing with things every day, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's taken a lot. It's taken a lot of work. It's taken a lot of time for me to be able to like be in this place where I can like snap in it and snap out of it. And
Yeah.
like I'll deal with my all my stuff like when I deal with my stuff, but like I can also show up for people and make sure that I'm showing up for them, that everybody's getting the same experience, and that I'm not
Mm.
like, listen, I've had bad days too where I'm like, you know what, that wasn't my best, and like
Mhm.
I'm going through something personally where like I wasn't able to show up in the way that I
Mhm.
wanted to or could have or should have. And it's just like I have to be okay with that too. Like some days aren't my best. And like again, we're all just human.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
we're all doing our
Absolutely.
best.
Yeah. Well, and I can imagine like similar to, I mean, I remember my first reading with you, like I cried and you had a box of Kleenex right there. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, you probably have
They're
people
ready.
crying all
Yeah.
the time. You're like, yeah, it's fine.
All the
And
time.
I remember thinking like, wow, being so in tuned with people's emotions and energies, and then like hearing, you know, because I was crying and then I was explaining, yeah, I think, you know, this is probably why I'm feeling this way. And you know, who knows if you're going through the same thing and that's triggering you too. So I can imagine that being really intense, like having client after client maybe feeling quite like emotionally distraught or sad, especially if they're always focusing on the bad stuff. So I'm really glad to hear that you do like have self protection in your work. And also because I'm like, oh, that would be exhausting to take, similar to like a therapist. Like you have to have
Yeah.
some kind of, you know,
Yeah.
ritual for yourself to not take it home with you all the time, or take it into your heart all the time.
Otherwise, like again, like when I like before the pandemic, I was getting sick a lot, like a lot of colds, a
Yeah.
lot of flus, just a lot of like illnesses that like I completely recognized were because I was so depleted. Like I was pushing myself. I would not say no to anything. I was just kind of like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, 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 yes. And then giving so much of myself to others. Like it affected me physically. Like I could tell that it affected me physically, right?
Mm.
To I like my energy is I see it in the photos, right? It's completely different now. But yeah, like it's things that you learn, right?
Yeah.
You'll you'll feel when it's wrong. Your body will tell you when it's not right, and then you'll learn and grow, and like things will kind of come together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Are there are there like do this might be completely naive of me to ask, but like cuz it might be like no, this is totally different. But do astrology signs like connect at all to auras or chakras, do you think?
I mean, yes, yes, in a general sense, like in that it all connects. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
mm,
So it's all kind of different like pieces of the puzzle.
mm,
Um, but we have like with astrology signs, like we have different traits, we have different kind of like characteristics that might be more common to one specific sign. Like you could definitely see that in people's readings. Like I can definitely tell when it's like Leo season or when it's, you know what I mean? Like there's
Oh, I
like,
love this.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like there's specific like energies that you can see in certain ways, but you
Mm,
also have to take into account people's rising, people's moon signs, like, and again, how they're feeling,
right.
right? So
Right.
your sign doesn't dictate how you're going to feel at any particular point of the day.
Mhm.
Um, but you know, like if you are a person who's more outgoing, which, you know, for example, a Leo, like I'm not dragging Leos, like tend to be, like you could technically like see that as like a constant.
Mhm.
But again, like there is no like hard and fast rule.
Yeah. 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 Oh, interesting. I remember listening to a podcast and I think you made a joke. Something about like, oh, you and the host were talking about how you both love wearing like black, beige, like neutrals. And I
Yeah.
think then, and just talking about color and like the color that you're attracted to, I think you made a joke about like, oh yeah, typical. I'm forgetting now. Maybe it was like, oh yeah, well, Libra or something. And it just popped into my head like, oh, are these connected? But a really interesting thing actually that you also said that you were, when you were talking about it was like that certain colors people will be attracted to, and because colors are so connected to our chakras, and in the like in the 9 main chakras that you work in, like each one is a different color, um and so the colors that you're drawn to are important to pay attention to, but also maybe the colors that you don't like if you don't like
Yeah.
red, maybe leaning into
Yeah.
red. I thought all of that was just so fascinating. Specifically, like red is one that I don't ever wear. I'm never really
Hmm.
like drawn to, and yeah,
Hmm.
it was just interesting to hear all of that as well. And then right off the top, you're like, oh, blue, that's our throat chakra. Like that's, and so, yeah, I think the colors of it all can be so intuitive and also a really interesting part of it too.
For sure. I think the joke was Scorpios because
Scorpios. Okay.
we're both Scorpios. Yeah. So normally I do wear a lot of black, like just
Yeah.
in general, but over the past couple years, I've been more open to color and kind of experimenting
Mm,
with color in my wardrobe. Like my space is very colorful. I have a lot of
mm-hmm.
like I like to have color around me.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's literally all of the colors around me right now. Like it's a very colorful space. But in my own personal wardrobe, I'm generally very, very neutral. Like I'm trying to branch out with the blues and I have
Mm-hmm.
more orange shirts and I'm just like, I'm trying to kind of open those things up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it is interesting to pay attention to like what you intuitively select and like what
Mm-hmm.
that can say about either what's in your energy or what you might need in your energy.
Mm,
So the things that you are often like drawn to are things that you already have. Like you feel comfortable with them. It's like energies that you feel good. The colors that you're like ugh about are generally things that you might need to explore a little bit more. Like just to
mm,
delve into and just say, okay, like why? Why don't
mm-hmm.
like what does that color represent? And like why don't I want that color in my space?
Mm. Oh, that's so interesting. And like I would imagine too, like if I'm not really into green, let's say, then if that corresponds to my heart chakra, like what's my relationship like with, love and with healing and with
Hmm.
the things that are associated with my
Boundaries
heart
and
chakra? Mm.
yeah, 100%. And like again, some people just might not like green. Like
Right.
there's no,
Totally.
you know what I mean? Like
Totally.
you don't have to like green, you don't have to like all the colors, but each color does have a meaning, right? It
Mm.
connects to something which is also connected to the inside of you. So something to think about, something to explore. Like
Mm-hmm.
personally, like there's no color that I'm like, yuck, because all of the colors mean
Yeah.
something, like they're all important. And I hope more people kind of like have that openness to like color and kind of like inviting it into their space, into their lives.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just such a great um kind of like door into just self-reflection and curiosity about yourself. Like if in the end you hate all the colors and you only want to wear and be around black all the time, cool. But at least you've like learned, like you've asked yourself those questions and kind of had that curiosity, because I think there's a lot we can like learn about ourselves and learn about the patterns in our lives through asking ourselves some of these questions. So I thought it was so interesting that you said that. And I mean, yeah, all of the things. I mean, I could talk to you for hours. I feel like probably a lot of people. Well, actually, is that something? Like, I imagine when people find out what you do, like, let's say you're at a party or you're at a social event that maybe you don't know some people and people find out what you do. I would imagine people hijack your time a lot and like
Not
ask,
really.
no, are people okay?
I'm
Good.
not, I mean, it's
Maybe I'm
like
having less
a
faith
good
in humans than I
icebreaker.
should.
No,
Yeah.
like it's definitely a good icebreaker. People are like interested.
Yeah.
And like sometimes people like want to know more, but if that's something that they're open to learning about, right? Like it
Yeah.
depends. It depends on the person. Like a lot of people you'd be surprised, like, well, not you'd be surprised, like a lot of people are not super into aura photography
Right.
or into any kind of thing that they can't see
Mm-hmm.
presented in front of them. And like you hear auras and you think about, any kind of like mystic energies. And like I'm not saying that I'm like tapping into anything specific. Like ultimately, I'm trying to give you a really great photograph and I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
translate it for you in a way that is palatable, in a way that you can take something away from it. Um, so yeah, like it's not necessarily like a trick where people are like, oh, read my aura right now. Cause like I can't, I don't have my
Yeah.
camera. Like I have to,
Yeah.
like, there's a lot that we have to
Yeah.
do, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it is like, it's something that people are interested in. Like they're definitely curious about it. Like the more
Mhm.
people that like haven't heard about it, who I can, chat with or who people can like, learn about it from, like the
Mhm.
better. It just
Yeah.
helps you learn more about yourself. But like definitely there are people that like are like, ooh, this feels a little spooky. This might be too much that I'm learning here. Like I might be learning too much about myself that I'm not comfortable with. Like
Yeah,
there's a lot
that's
of
true.
people who like
Yep.
aren't into it and
Yeah.
aren't intrigued by it. And there's also a lot of people that are like, okay, tell me more.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever like yeah, I guess the other side I'm imagining, and that's clearly my bias. I'm imagining everybody wanting to learn more and more and just like talk to you for hours, because I think all these things are so fascinating and beautiful. But I could imagine on the other side there are people who are skeptical or who are like
Yeah.
don't believe in it or whatever, and I
They're like, that's weird. And that's,
yeah.
the conversation ends there. And it's like, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. Or most situations, I would imagine, like, I don't really want to have to defend all of it. Like, I don't want to have to sit there and have a debate about the legitimacy of my career and all these things.
Nobody generally asks me to debate it. Like if they're
Yeah,
skeptical, they just don't engage with me, which
yeah.
is also fine.
Good, good.
Like
Because
I'm
I'm
fine with
like,
that too.
ugh, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't want you to have to
it's
ever
cool.
be put in
Yeah.
that situation. Okay, so other than a love for crystals and aura and astrology, another thing that we share in common is our love for Bravo reality TV. And when
Oh,
I
oh,
heard, Evelyn, that
oh,
you are a big reality fan and
oh,
specifically shows on Bravo, I was like,
yeah.
oh, I can't wait to talk even more. Okay,
Oh,
so before we dive into that though, I heard something, my mouth was agape. I was on the
okay.
TTC, on the streetcar, and I was like, oh, what? And I wrote it down immediately to ask you because I was listening to a podcast where you shared that you got a crystal. I feel like you might know where I'm going. You got a crystal
Yeah.
from the Girardi Keys estate sale. For everyone who
My
doesn't
Girardi
know,
stones.
your Girardi stone. So for anyone who
Yeah.
doesn't know, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, one of the housewives, Erica, was married to Tom Girardi, who did a bunch of horrible things, and their law firm went kaput. And so there was an estate sale. Okay, so what crystal? And I heard that you really like cleansed this crystal because you're like, what
Oh yeah. No,
energy
I
is
got a
coming with
bunch.
this?
It was not just
Got a
one. I got like
bunch.
a grouping of crystals, and they're huge.
They
They're
have
honestly
okay. Also,
so nice.
a little bit of me was like, I'm not saying I like Tom Girardi, The fact that Girardi Keese has crystals in their office, I was like, okay.
Like insane crystals. Yeah, like no, and they had big amethyst like caves. Like they had a lot. They had a lot of crystals in their office.
Wow.
Yeah, they had it was mostly like printers and chairs. Like there wasn't a lot of stuff to like
At the
buy
estate
in that
sale.
sale.
Right.
A lot
A
of
printer
printers,
and
a
an
lot of
amethyst.
chairs,
You know
a
what I
lot of
mean? Bring them.
desks. Like
Yeah.
but there were these groups of crystals, and I thought they'd be like the size of my hand. Like I thought that
Yeah.
they'd be just like little crystals. I think they're upstairs. Like I have them like on display. I
Oh,
think I got 5 of them, and they're all like this big.
it's
Like
like the
they're the
size
size of
for
my head,
listener,
if
the
not
size of your
bigger.
head.
The size of my head, they're huge. So I was in a bidding war, but
I
thankfully
love this. I
nobody
love this.
was super into this set of crystals because again,
Oh,
they looked really small. They didn't look super exciting. Like they didn't photograph them well. And like crystals are notoriously difficult to photograph. So I kind of like knowing
really?
that so hard. Like
Why?
it's so
Why?
you can't capture them. Like you cannot it's like the moon. Like you cannot capture their essence.
Oh, like the
You
moon.
cannot. So even like with my like with the crystals on my website, like half of the crystals do not make it on my website because the photos look so terrible and like they don't look like what the crystal is. So I have them in person, but like you just cannot take most of the time good photos of crystals.
Oh.
So I knew that going in. I
Mm-hmm.
knew that like there probably was like more to than meets the eye to like these crystals, and like I had no idea how big they were going to be. When the box arrived, it like the box was huge. It was insane. And they were, I think it was like 260 US for all those crystals, which I was like in a bidding war.
Wow.
And it wasn't, again, like for crystals, like it's a pretty good price for all those crystals.
Yeah, for 5 head-sized
Giant
crystals, like
crystals with
that's
a pass, like,
wild. With a
you know,
5 crystals with
from,
a pass, they have stories to
from,
tell.
from the Girardi Keese law offices in
Oh,
Beverly Hills, like insane. So, um, I felt okay about it just because the money hopefully went to like repay the victims.
mm-hmm.
So anybody who's listening who didn't know, he basically he was a lawyer who scammed a bunch of his victims by saying, "Hey, I'm going to put your winnings in this trust," and just bought a plane, but like funded her lifestyle. Like it was just
Yeah.
gross. But hopefully some of that money goes back towards them to pay for whatever it is, like in any small kind of way. And then I cleansed the heck out of them
Yeah.
because I don't want any of that energy
No, in
from
your
that
house.
office in my
Absolutely
home.
not. Oh my God.
But they were in like a selenite full jail, and I was like Palo Santoing them like for days. Like they were cleansed.
Cleansing for days. I love that.
They
When I
were
heard that, I'm
cleansed.
like, wow. And what are the odds too that you love crystals and that you engage in them in your life already, and then also that you love like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? Those
100%. Yeah.
crystals needed to go to you. Like you needed to have
Yeah. Yeah.
those. It's
No, like
wild.
those were my crystals. Like when there was, I think they started at like $40. Like there was a bidding war. Like it was like they were cheap,
Wow.
and I was like, oh, these are my crystals, and then they like went up to 260, and I was like, they're still my crystals. It's okay. They're my crystals. It's gonna be
They're my
fine.
crystals. Hopefully,
They're my
don't go
crystals.
above 300, please. Maybe they're still my crystals,
Please,
but oh my
like
God.
US dollars. Like they're my crystals. But
US dollars.
I no regrets. Literally no
Oh,
regrets.
those are
No regrets at
amazing.
all.
That's amazing. So okay, so in terms of reality TV, which
Mhm.
Bravo reality shows are you enjoying right now? What are you into?
All of them.
All of
I'm
them.
a big housewives gal.
Yes.
Not super into like a winter house or a summer house or a
Yep.
below deck. Like
Okay.
the satellite like extra shows are not my super jam. I love a housewives, obviously Vanderpump, which is to me in the
Oh,
housewives realm.
yeah.
Um, I just finished watching the last episode of Miami.
Oh, me
It
too. I
is
watched it today.
noteworthy. Yeah, it's
It is.
wild. It was wild.
It is.
Oh,
That's a wild one. And it's so strange with Miami how they did, and I'm going to get this wrong, the number of seasons, but how they did like 2 seasons and then
yeah.
waited like 10 years and then now
8
they're doing
years.
seasons,
Yeah.
8 years. And now
Yeah.
they're doing seasons again with like a lot of the original cast. It's been
It's
very interesting.
I love
Yeah.
it. But like, yeah, they're working. They're working hard. So yeah, Miami, amazing. Salt Lake City, amazing.
Amazing.
Beverly Hills, I'm watching. I'm happy about Beverly Hills. Side note, I've done Lisa Rinna's Aura photo before. So just like this all back
Stop.
into Bravo. Like
Hold
Rinna
on,
has
how did
done her
that
Aura photo with you
happen? How
before.
did that come about? I love Lisa
In
Rinna.
Muskoka, love Lisa
Yeah,
Rinna. She was
love.
so nice, so lovely, like
Oh,
so
I
like
miss her on the
wonderful and
show
warm to
this
everyone
season.
there.
Yeah. Oh,
I think she could come back, but she
yeah.
does
Oh,
not want
yeah.
to, so that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. That's fair.
Whatever she
Yeah,
wants
yeah,
is
yeah.
fine.
Whatever Lisa wants,
Um,
Lisa gets. Rinna.
whatever she wants.
Yep.
So she was at. So I used to do. I still do actually a pop up in Muskoka every summer at a marina called SWS Muskoka. It's like Summer Water Sports Marina, and every twice a month or twice a summer. So once in July, once in August, they do a ladies' night, which is like they'll bring different vendors in, and there'll be like a big kind of like nighttime event, and Rinna's cottage is close. So Rinna came with Cindy Crawford.
Oh.
Rinna came with Cindy Crawford and like hung out at the event, like just hung out and like bought things. And it was just like, they were so nice. They were so
Oh
lovely. Like it was
my
just
God.
a dream, a dream. I go every year just like hoping to see her again. Every single
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
Rinna, please, I know
yeah.
you're here. Like just come.
Now I'm so glad that when you came back from New York, no one was doing it in Toronto because I'm so glad that it led you to Lisa and Cindy. Lisa
You
and Cindy, first
know.
name basis. Oh
I
my
know.
goodness. Wow. What was her aura? I mean, it was in that moment. It's so nice to hear that she was so nice. Like
So
at times when
nice.
there's no cameras, she doesn't need to be nice
Talked to
necessarily.
every single person, talked to every single vendor, like was
Oh,
just so kind to everybody. Like, oh, beautiful.
oh. Can I guess? Can I guess what her aura photo was strong in?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm getting out my picture because so I
I
don't
feel
have
like
them
it was like a
memorized.
specific time though. You know what I mean? Like she was
Okay.
there for like rest and reset. So like it might not be
Ah.
like a typical like Rinna photo.
Okay. So rest and reset. It is summer also. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna guess that she had really good red I'm nervous. Red, root and grounding. Obviously, I'm not saying this for
Hmm.
you. I'm saying this for listeners. Okay, so I think she had not dim red, like she wasn't tired. I think she had some good red because she was grounded.
Hmm.
I think she
Hmm.
had some good green for love and healing because I think like she was I don't know if Harry, her husband, was there. Maybe not. That's
Hmm.
okay. And I think maybe she had some I'm gonna go with a no, I don't think she had third eye, but I think she had blue because she was talking to everybody.
Okay.
That's a lot of
No.
colors, isn't it?
No. She
Okay, Amanda. No. Thank you so
the
much.
answer is
Thank
no.
you so much. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, great.
No, I was actually shocked by it as well. She was pretty tired. Like her
Okay,
body was tired. She had some dim red over her body. She
great.
had a lot of violet and a lot of indigo.
Oh, spiritual. That's third
A
eye,
lot of
right?
spiritual energy. No, so there's a lot of third eye and a lot of crown. So the
Hmm.
violet crown chakra is spiritual connection, spiritual understanding. So she might have been feeling really like plugged in, connected to the
Ooh.
earth, to the universe, to other people. It also means a lot of brain activity, like she could have been overthinking some things. And then the
Mm.
indigo is brow chakra, which is intuition. So she had a lot of intuition around her as well. But her
Mm.
body was a little bit tired, I think, again, because she was like there to rest. It was in between filming. Like
Oh, that's fair.
it
You know
might have been
what?
at the beginning of it.
I was assuming the end. I was going, oh, she's been
I
in
like I don't yeah.
Muskoka. That was my
She
fault.
and maybe just like being around all those people stressed her out. Like who
Yeah.
knows? Like she seemed really comfortable, but like again, like, she was a
Yeah.
dream,
Oh
a
my
dream.
God, that's so freaking cool. Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, and
I'm really enjoying Real Housewives of Beverly Hills right now. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling like a lot of the housewives are like on Kyle for not drinking in a way that is like unsettling. I'm like, leave her alone if she doesn't want to drink
like
alcohol.
let her
Like,
not
why
drink.
are
She's
we
fine.
yeah, and like when people say like, "Oh, you were just so much more fun when you drank alcohol." I genuinely it's like a fuck you. Like
Yeah,
what are you saying? Like that
like
is
don't say
one of the
that.
most inconsiderate
So
selfish
rude.
things I think people can say. It's like, "Oh, so she's happier not drinking. She feels happier
Yeah,
and healthier." But you'd rather she was your specific brand of fun rather than her being
yeah.
happy and healthy. I'm
She's
like,
a
ugh.
little too boring. a little too boring.
I'm like, oh, is
Nah.
healthy a little too boring? Then maybe we need to check in with therapy a little bit. But I mean, I
Which is like,
also, yes, I like
if
Beverly
Beverly Hills,
Hills.
like they're all on Ozempic, like it is what it is.
Oh man, I know. I wonder. I'm like, how is this getting? This is getting around everywhere. That freaks me out. The
Hormones.
fact that yes,
Hormones.
like, oh woof. But no, I'm also loving. It's so. For anyone who's not watching Real Housewives or doesn't,
Like,
that's
so
totally
sorry about
fine. But I'm like,
this
come
for
on.
everybody else.
Honestly, Evelyn's is like every fucking. I feel like every
The
episode I
bait
can, I'm
and
bringing it up
switch.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's always. And I also specifically left it towards the end of our conversation.
Yeah.
So like, we're not going to lose people in the beginning.
Started
But
with
usually
energy.
it
Yeah.
started with energy.
Ends with energy.
Ends with so much energy. There is usually like 2 or 3 housewife franchises on at one time. I think actually right now there's 4. There's Salt Lake,
Yeah,
Potomac.
we're very blessed.
We're so blessed right now. And
Yeah.
I am watching
Potomac's
Winter
doing
House
work.
and Below Deck. I'm watching Southern Charm. Like but I'm with you. Like
I'm
the
watching Southern
Housewives.
Charm.
It's a rough one.
I'll watch it, but like I'm not like
No.
because there's nothing else on.
No, and it's one of those ones too where like they feel so behind the times in terms of like
They are
heteronormativity and gender
but look
roles.
at where they are and look at
totally.
like and also like it's just such like old American families. Like it's just
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like,
it just
Paige,
is what it is.
do not leave New York to move
please
there.
don't go
like,
down
please
to
stay.
Charleston.
No, she's
Why?
Please
Don't do
stay
that.
there.
Oh,
No,
I
it
don't think she
terrifies
would.
me. I don't think she
I don't know
will
her,
either.
but like
she's from Summer House and Winter House.
No, I know she's from Summer House and Winter House. I know Craig and Austin went on. Like I know what's going on,
and
but
now
like I'm not watching.
now Tom Schwartz is a main cast member in in Winter House. It's so weird, Evelyn. Winter House has become just like yeah, this season of Winter House, they're like, let's just do an amalgamation of a bunch of different Below Deck. Like there's people from amalgamation from Bravo. There's the Winter House people, and then they're like, great, let's pull in. There's Brian from Shaws of Sunset. I love Shaws of Sunset. There's Below Deck people, and they don't seemingly know each other than like, oh, I met this person at a Bravo party, so now I'm friends with them, so I'm bringing them
together.
Exactly.
Right.
But it's not a natural, like before it was like, oh, I'm friends with this person, she's my high school friend, and
like
now it's just
we work together, and now we're all in the house together. Yeah.
Not now. It's kind of weird. I mean,
That's
I watch all the
me.
shows, but
yeah,
it's wild. It's weird. But it's interesting too in all the Real Housewives. Like people will say to me, "Oh, I don't like Real Housewives," and I always say like each yeah, I'm like, it's fine. And sometimes if people say that about like Crystal and stuff, like, oh, I'm not into that. I'm like, that's fine. You're missing out. Yeah. You're good for you. And I feel you're missing out, but also good for you. I know your energy is so much calmer than what I'm like, like, yeah, I know. I'm clearly going to be in a debate for the legitimacy of all of these things. And I need to exit from the debate. But, I think every franchise is so different. Like, every cast,
different producers, different editors, different like the vibe of each franchise is different. Like, and the different women on each franchise are very, very different in terms of like how they self-produce, like what their storylines are. Like, it's very, I just love it.
I know.
It's my Roman Empire. Really.
Well, even the rule, like, so that's why I actually had a friend be like, I haven't watched any of them. I really want to get into it. Where do I start? And I'm like, great. Tell me, what kind of drama do you like to watch? What drama stresses you out? What kind? Because they're so different. And even like what is acceptable in one, like in some of them, if you call someone a bitch, you are exiled. In another one, someone punches them in the face. Like it's so different what the rules are.
100%.
It's just, so I do find sometimes like Miami, because that also feels so behind the times in terms of like gender roles, and I find it hard sometimes to listen or to watch because there's a lot of like, well, that's the woman's job, or like you have to keep your man happy, and I'm like, my God, it's 2023.
But you also just have to understand like where they're coming from, and you know, like it's just a very different cultural energy, like that they grew up with, and like it's not my cup of tea, but like it is what it is, right? So I like to just watch it as just like human, like anthropological research. You know what I mean? Because like everything has a different energy. Every city is different. Like I love to start people off with like they're starting off. I love to start them off with like New York, recommending like old New York.
Mm.
I love to recommend Atlanta season 6, which is like
Oh, specifically season 6.
season 6 is so good.
I've
Season
seen
6 is
all
like,
Atlanta, but I can't
yeah,
I can't pinpoint like
there's
what
just like
some
so many, like it's like Candy's Play, it's like White Refrigerator. It's just like there's so many like good, like so
Perfect.
good.
Love it. Yeah, yeah, I love it.
And Salt Lake. Like
Oh,
just starting
Salt
people
Lake.
off with Salt Lake because it's so quick and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's so much drama that happens. Like
Yeah, yeah. And it's a
it's a
variety of
great one.
drama too. Like some of it is
Oh,
really stupid and some of it is like, oh wow, this is like criminal drama now. Like so I think
I
it's a
love a
nice variety.
criminal
Love I love
crossover. Yeah.
I love a criminal crossover.
I love
I love
criminal
an
cases by
alliteration. So
Bravo. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I also have
I was
recommended
like,
New York a couple times to specific people because it's only one season.
I
And I'm
loved
like,
it. I loved New
just go.
York. It was
I
great.
loved it too. Oh, I
Great.
loved
It's
all of
fantastic.
them. It was so
Yeah.
great.
No
Um
notes.
no no notes. Keep the receipts. We're all good. No refunds. I loved it. I can't wait for the second season. I think it needed a bit of a revamp. I watched all the Real Housewives of New York. I was getting like quite tired
It
of
was
some
good.
of the
Yeah, yeah.
cast members. I'm like, okay, we're
But
good.
I'm
Like,
looking forward to their trip. Like I want to see them on a vacation.
oh, on the ultimate.
I'm really
Yeah, yeah,
excited.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Ultimate Girls Trip. I
I
love
can't wait.
seeing how some of them come together because again, like in their own so Ultimate Girls Trip is where they take different housewives from different franchises and then put them all on a trip together. And what I
Yeah.
love there is like if somebody has a certain amount of power or influence in one franchise, you better believe they are not going to have that same like influence in another one. When like
Yeah.
Ramona and
The pecking order
and
does not
exactly
exist on the
exactly.
trip.
It does. The limit does not exist.
Yeah.
On
Well,
those
Ramona, like
trips. I
Ramona's
know.
kind of,
That's the one
you
where
know,
I'm like, Ramona, we're good. Like we're just
they're talking
gonna
about. Did you know that
mm.
Brandy? Oh my gosh, wait, what was she on? I think she was on the first episode of Married to Med, and they edited her
Brandy
out
Granville?
because, yes, because she's friends with Phaedra from
Yeah.
the other trip. I think they edited her out because of what happened on the trip with Caroline.
Oh my god. Wait. What trip with Caroline?
There was another trip where Brandy like grabbed Caroline by the vagina maybe or like made some sort of like
Oh
sexual
no.
advances towards Caroline and Caroline like lost it and basically they like that show is not going to happen anymore and I think Brandy's like on the outs because I think it's like a whole Bravo like HR investigation.
Oh, Bravo HR. They need to hire so many more HR. The shit they've been
Yeah,
getting
no,
away with
like
over the years.
Brandy,
Wait, Caroline, like from New Jersey?
yes. Yes.
She's not
She did not
someone.
like she did not like Brandy's vibe, and
I
Brandy was
would
like
guess she
drunk
wouldn't like
and like
Brandy's. Oh
all
God,
over her
Brandy
in the way that she did not like, and so she was edited out of Married to Med.
of Married to Med.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Where it's just about women who are
I
married to
hope like
people
I'm
who
not
work in medicine.
just like saying
Wow.
like just lies. Like I hope that that's true, but like I saw that on a Bravo blog.
Okay, well, everybody is in charge of going and
Take
fact
this with
checking
a
for
grain of
themselves. Yeah,
salt.
yes,
Maybe edit this
yes.
out. Like, well, we're not
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
if
yeah,
this is gonna
yeah.
make the cut, but
Let me,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah,
I heard.
yeah, yeah.
Word on the
This
street
is
is
a
that she
rumor.
was
Everything
edited
in
out
Bravo is a rumor. And yes,
allegedly.
allegedly.
Allegedly. That's what.
Oh shit, Brandy.
Yeah, yeah.
I liked her in
So we might not get to that one
she
either.
was in Traders Celebrities. I don't know if you saw that one.
Love the traders. Love
So
that.
good. There's a
That was.
Canadian one now.
I know, but I don't know if I
I
want
haven't
to
seen
watch
it.
that.
I watched the first
I just
episode, I
that was
think.
the American one that was so good.
I
With
know,
like the
with the
twist at the end and
celebrities.
like oh that was
Oh,
great. That was great.
yeah. It was so
Traders
good.
was great.
That was
And
so
I
good.
also like I'm not a summer house, winter house girl, but I am a
Hmm.
Love Island girl. Like
Oh,
that is
Evelyn,
where
come home. Should we move in together? Absolutely. Do you know there's a Love Island like games where
been
they like
watching it.
compete?
Been full
Okay, I
I'm
haven't
caught
seen it
up.
yet. I am so excited. Okay.
Okay, so normally like
Yeah.
the challenges I fast forward because I think the challenges are so actually like boring and the worst.
Right,
I've
right,
been
right.
watching all of Love Island games. The games are actually very physically demanding. Like these poor
Oh.
people are like the sun goes down and they're still like competing in this like physical
Sun
strength thing.
goes
Like
down.
the sun goes down. You can tell they're all so tired. They're all over it. Like they're all so pissed and they still have to like do these challenges, like
Oh
these
my
really
God.
intense challenges. And
Which
it's like
is
an
like
all
not
stars
Love
where they're like,
Island.
they're all, it's not Love Island, but it's like an all stars. So there's like
Yeah.
alliances and then there's like, it's not Love Island. It's Love Island games. Like I'm not
Yeah.
mad at it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally, totally. I just love that you take people from Love Island where the quote unquote like physical challenges are like pick this girl up and carry her across a
No,
step
this
and
is
then
like
kiss
you're
her.
bungee corded together in the middle of a boxing ring, and you have to fight for your life to ring a bell on the other side.
Oh
And
God. These people were not
no,
brought into
it's
TV
like
for this. That's
physical
amazing. I'm
as
in.
well. They like make them put on like a mermaid
I saw a
bottom,
picture of
and then
that
like
where
crawl
yes.
up a slippery thing, and then get a thing, and then slide it down. Where the guy's like holding a balancing a thing, and if the bricks fall, like it's just so like they had to do that
Oh
for
my
so
God.
long.
I
Like
wonder
it's
because this
wild.
is like the first season of Love Island Games. I would imagine that none of them were prepared for that. Like, I don't think anyone was prepped. I think they were like,
I don't think
no,
that they were
no.
prepped for like how intense those games were going to be. I think they were like, we're going to play some games, but
Right.
like
And they're like,
they
sure,
are, they're like
in it.
intense physical games. Like they're not.
Wow.
It is what it is. We'll see. We'll see.
Oh, I
I
can't
like it,
wait.
and I like
It's
how
on
like
my list to
everyone's
start.
coming back. Like,
Yeah.
I'm into it.
And I love because then you get to like catch up on who's still together and who's, yeah.
Well, none of them are still
Well,
together.
none of them are ever still together in
Newsflash.
Love Island, unfortunately.
Except for Molly, May, and Tommy, who just had a baby.
Oh my God. And who isn't also like, oh, they just had a baby. I
They
totally
had a
didn't even hear.
baby
Well, and
named
isn't it like
Bambi.
Bambi?
It's really cute.
That is
That
really
is like a
cute.
Love Island success story. Like
The
a
one,
baby.
the one's
Yeah.
100%, the one baby.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, doesn't like Tommy's uncle, who's like a retired boxer, have a reality
Yeah.
show
He's like
on
the big,
Netflix?
yeah.
Yeah, I started like
They're
one
all
episode.
famous.
They're all
I
famous.
don't really know anything about his uncle. I just know that
No,
he's really like it's a Tommy.
no. Someone
Like
on the
that's the
podcast
star
told me about
in my eyes.
the show and said that like
Yeah.
Tommy and Molly do like a pop in, and so I started watching it, and I was like, when are they
Okay.
coming? I'm
Fair
kind of
enough.
bored. It's fine, but I'm like, nah. I
Yeah.
have enough Bravo to watch. Like, I don't need to watch all of that, you know.
Totally.
So, well, for anyone that we've lost, we're gonna bring you right back in to wrap up because I wanna go. I wanna finish our conversation by. I thought maybe okay. So you have your crystal master's certification, and obviously you know your shit about crystals. I mean, even during this conversation. So I was thinking maybe I could give you a scenario, and you could recommend like a helpful crystal for that
Yeah.
scenario.
Love it.
Okay, great. Especially since we're going into like gray winter times. So what if you're feeling tired and you would like to be finding some more energy for yourself? What's a good crystal for that?
I would recommend carnelian. It's really good for like physical energy. It's good for grounding. Carnelian's going to be good for like your whole physical body. So it's going to be good for your root chakra, your navel chakra, and your solar plexus. So it gives a lot of like physical power, a lot of physical energy. It's a grounding stone, but it's like a good kind of like energetic, positive energy in your body.
I'm getting that one too, like tomorrow. I'm so glad I have this on recording so I can make my shopping list. Okay. What about if you're lacking inspiration in your work?
What kind of work?
Yeah, that's such a good point. What if you're lacking any kind of like, what if you want to be finding some more inspiration and like creativity and imagination in your work, and your work feels like a bit monotonous? Is that helpful? Okay, great.
Yes. So, okay, couple different scenarios for this. Creativity, in general is going to be good with orange. So orange calcite,
back to orange calcite
that you have right there.
Beautiful.
And you can also do some carnelian for that navel chakra as well. I would do lapis lazuli, which is good for your third eye. So for your intuition, which when you kind of connect to that will help with that inspiration. And also a little bit of amethyst, which I think would be good just to kind of get that brain firing. It's a good like calming stone, but it's also like it's helpful for the brain energy. And then we can do a little bit of like blue calcite, or let's say a labradorite for the throat, which is good for like your expression. But it's good for like creative expression as well.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God, amazing. Okay. What if you are feeling a little heartbroken, or like you're grieving a loss? What about going through some grief?
Grief. We would center on the heart for grief. So we would do rose quartz.
Mm,
You could also do green stones, so like green fluorite. Um, malachite could be okay for that as well, but ruby and ziacite would be nice for that. Maybe garnet would be good for that
mm,
too.
mm,
But yeah, like rose quartz is really like powerful for the heart chakra.
mm. I think I have one back there. I'm just gonna be like holding it close. Okay, I love it.
Hmm.
What if you're having difficulty staying present in the moment with people, with yourself? You find yourself worrying about the future, ruminating on the past, and you just want to like stay present in the moment with yourself.
For that, I feel like you would want to be really grounded. So
Mm,
you would need something like a black tourmaline, mahogany obsidian, a regular obsidian,
mm,
any like maybe a smoky quartz would really kind of
mm.
like keep you like balanced, but also grounded in the moment.
I love it. Okay, my last one for you. What's one if you are feeling great, you're feeling open, you're feeling wonderful, and you're like, I want to protect this energy. I want to keep this good vibe
Mm,
going.
mm.
And maybe I'm going to go out in the world where there's stresses and work and people and all the things. I want to protect this energy. What's like a good keep this good vibe going protection?
Okay, so protect the energy would be all of those previous stones, so like the
Mhm.
obsidian, the tourmaline, but clear quartz is an amplifier. So if you're already feeling like
Oh,
amazing, clear
yeah.
quartz will just like amplify that energy.
Oh, I love. So if I'm feeling not great, maybe I keep the clear quartz away a little bit. But if I'm feeling amazing, bring it
Or
in.
you pair the clear quartz with another crystal, which will amplify that
The
crystal's energy.
crystal instead of amp.
Yeah,
God, this is
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
so science and art and spiritual. It's just
Yeah,
so this is incredible. Um,
it all comes together.
it all
And
comes
bravo,
together. And bravo. Listen, crystals aura and
obviously.
bravo. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the log line on.
Honestly, the
Yeah,
reason that I started selling crystals, like this isn't
yeah,
travel related, but it is reality TV related because during the pandemic, I did a rewatch of The Hills
yes.
and Spencer inspired me. Like that was it. Like I owe
Really?
so much to Spencer Pratt because otherwise I wouldn't have been selling crystals.
No one has ever said that. I owe so much to Spencer Pratt. This is the first
I
time. I hope
do.
he hears it
I
because that's
truly do.
nice for
I
someone to
really,
hear.
you know what, Spencer, like you really, like you helped me out because people were like, looking at them like they were insane and like they
Yeah.
would bring crystals to events. He was saying like pretty legitimate things about, about energy and
Wow.
like everybody on the hills were just like, ooh, like he's kind of gone off the rails, but he's saying legitimate things. But
Yeah.
after that, I was like, should I sell crystals? And then I did.
Like, great. This is gonna weave into my career and like,
Yeah,
I'm
because
gonna
because
love it.
during the pandemic, so like I couldn't even do photos. Like there was no, I
Yeah.
couldn't be in person with people. Like everything was so closed, especially in Ontario. So like this was a way for me to still have an offering and still connect with people and like a time where
Yeah.
people really needed something. Like they needed things
Oh,
to kind of like look forward to and to hold on to and to kind of give them a little bit of an extra boost. So it was really like
yeah.
the perfect connection. But like, yeah, Spencer helped me see
See, it
that.
really is like energy in reality TV. Like, it really all
It's
comes
all about like,
together.
it is good for you. And I don't want anyone to tell you otherwise. That's the thing.
Oh.
It's like we are everything. You can be
Mm-hmm.
a energetic being and love auras and crystals, but like at the same time, you can love Bravo and you can love trashy TV and you can like what you like. And just as long as it makes you feel good and you're happy doing it, like live your life,
Live your life. Oh,
you
goddamn.
know?
If that's not the most wonderful prescription I've ever heard, like, oh, yes, live your life. I know. I'm trying to rid myself. I have little bits of shame around loving reality TV, and I'm like, why? Let's
Never,
let that go. Yeah, there's no
never.
need. There's no need. I
No.
asked someone, I think it was Coco Galore, I interviewed on this podcast, and I
Oh
asked,
yeah.
what's your, oh, I think she's come to you actually.
A bunch of times, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. Because I'm thinking, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I remember Coco posted a photo. So Coco
Yeah.
Galore. Ugh, it all comes together. So
It's
I,
all
yeah,
coming
it's all
together.
connected. I asked Coco on this podcast, what's one of your guilty pleasures? And this I'm paraphrasing, but she essentially was like, I have pleasures. I don't feel guilty about them, and it has always stuck with me.
Love that.
Fucking right. What are your
Yeah.
pleasures? Like
Yeah.
100%. So yeah, I'm with you. You know what? I'm gonna go get clear quartz so I can amplify the shit out of how I'm feeling right now. Thank you so much, Evelyn, for chatting with me today. It was such a joy. And for behind the scenes people, it was a tech journey for us, and
Oh
we're
my
here.
gosh.
And I'm so
We did it.
grateful and appreciative. And it was just such a dream. And and I can't wait to come get my photo taken again next week or in 2 weeks. I forget. But yeah, I can't wait. I'll see you soon. Thank you so much
for having me.
Oh,
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Liquid Courage podcast. If you liked what you saw and you're looking to support the show, here's a few ways you can help. You can leave the show a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or you can follow the show on Instagram and TikTok at Liquid Courage Podcast. Or, and best of all, you can tell a friend about the show. Tell a family member, tell a coworker, post about your favorite episode online. Spread the word. That really is the best way to help support the show and help it grow. Did I just rhyme? Okay, until the next episode, cheers!